Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K Collector. And the question is, have you missed the boat to sell your video games, your retro games at top dollar? And that's a question that I want to dive into a little bit here in this video really quick, because we have seen some major retro video game collection sell-offs on YouTube here, but I'm sure there are a lot more that have not been documented on this platform. And so I want to kind of talk about if it's too late, meaning has the wave passed? Did you miss the boat to be able to really maximize the value of your retro collection? We're going to talk about that, but before I dive into that, I did just want to kind of go ahead and update you all with some of the pickups that I've gotten in September. So September has actually wound up being a lot more active than August and even July. And I'll take you through some of what I picked up here. Now, just keep in mind, all of these pickups are from, you guessed it, GameStop, right? So a lot of these are GameStop pickups because there's really nowhere else for me to shop for retro games at this point that's as convenient as GameStop. So I know in some cases I'm paying close to market value, but in those instances, I'm really paying for the ability to not have to go out and hunt. And even with that being said, most of these games are coming in at an average of 20 to 25% under price charting value, which is kind of irrelevant, I think, these days. I don't really know many sellers that actually go by price charting anymore. I feel like price charting is starting to become outdated just because there is a shift happening in the retro gaming market. And I think a lot of buyers and sellers kind of selectively disregard price charting depending on the item that they're trying to sell. But that's a tangent and a topic that we can ramble on about another day. Sticking with this, let's go through some of these pickups here. So first we have this really clean copy of Rez for the PlayStation 2. Super clean. I'm really glad to get this back in my collection. I remember when I sold off a huge chunk of my PlayStation 2 collection, Rez was in that original sell-off, and I had doubted if I would be able to find another copy at a decent price. And then once I got Rez for the PlayStation 4, because I believe there's a VR version of this game, I was like, I don't really know if I need the PlayStation 2 version anymore. But because I sold my open box PlayStation 4, I haven't really had a PlayStation 4 that I've been using for quite some time. And Rez is just a really good game, VR aside. For those of you who don't know what this game is, this is a rhythm-based first-person, kind of like first/third-person shoot-'em-up game where you play as kind of like this dot, which is really just like a piece of data. And as you collect like these little chips or these little orbs as you fly through the levels, you upgrade and upgrade and upgrade until you develop this like humanoid form. And basically you're flying through this like virtual reality, and it's kind of like a first person shooters like shoot 'em up game. But again, it's all rhythm based, so it's kind of got like this techno kind of electric kind of sounding beat, this, you know, like that think like that. But very, very fun. I played this a lot when I had it the first go round on the PlayStation 2. I played this game a lot. It's actually really fun to play. Haven't played the PlayStation 4 version that much though, but this is a really cool one to get back into the collection. So glad that I got this. Wii Sports Resort. Only reason why I got this game was because it was free. So I was able to get this game for free from GameStop. And you know, a lot of times I find like this disc only, but this copy was like super clean, like brand new, basically. Somebody probably just took it out the wrap and, you know, never really played it much. It's got all the inserts and whatnot. The disc in there is actually really good. I got a couple receipts on there in there as well, but very clean copy of Wii Sports Resort. So you all know about that. You've seen it in almost every reseller video, so no need to drone on about that. Picked up this game of Going Quackers. Now this Going Quackers has been released, I think, on every console known to man. I'm pretty sure there's an N64 version. There is a, I'm not sure if there's a PlayStation version, but I do know that there's a number of ways that you can actually play this game. I'm not sure what the most expensive way is, but the Game Boy Color version actually happens to be a pretty decent side-scrolling platformer. So this was one that was pretty cheap for me to grab. Like Rez, by the way, was like 18 bucks. This is like an $8 game. So not bad for an $8 game, pretty decent. Nothing rare about this one. but really cool to find. So this one was one that I grabbed. The label was in great shape. Glad to have this one. Batman the Animated Series. So for those of you who grew up watching the WB, in New York it was the WB 11, you'll be familiar with the Batman the Animated Series. It went from Batman the Animated Series to like Batman Beyond. Who remembers Batman Beyond, right? It was a pretty cool one. And then like right as I stopped watching cartoons altogether, there was like this newer version of Batman that I just couldn't really keep up with. But Batman the Animated Series was really classic. I mean, those battles that he had with Bane and Ra's al Ghul, I mean, just classic. Takes me back to after school as a kid. And this version is actually really cool as well. So this version honestly feels like a cross between Batman Return of the Joker on the Game Boy, which is my favorite Batman game on the Game Boy. It's actually amazing. Great music, amazing music. I mean, Sunsoft did it best. But Konami has a really good entry here as well. I can't remember who did the Batman the movie game, but this is kind of like a cross between Batman Return of the Joker and the Batman the movie game. A decent game nonetheless, very good. Probably the most rare one out of all three to get. I'm not sure if there are any other Batman games on the original Game Boy. If there are, you guys can let me know. Now that I have three of them, makes me want to see what else there is out there. But this was actually a really good find for the original Game Boy. And yes, I still collect for the original Game Boy because the original Game Boy was my first console. So I was really glad to have that. Next up, this is one that I really want to get on the NES. It's really hard to find one on the NES at a good price. I think the NES version of this game is like $100 or so. So they had this version of Gargoyle's Quest, which is actually really good on the Game Boy. It's actually a really good game. I first played this on the Switch Online service, the Game Boy Switch Online. I was like, dang, this is a really good game. Plays kind of like Demon Crest, just on the Game Boy. I mean, you do play as Firebrand, but the music, it's funny. The music actually at certain parts sounds a lot like Ghouls and Ghosts. And for those of you who don't know, Firebrand is a part of the Ghouls of Ghosts like universe. So this is actually a really cool one. I was glad to get it. It's a platformer. It's not a super difficult platformer because he does fly albeit for a short amount of time in spurts. You can fly. You can kind of like hover, not so much fly. But this is actually a really good game. If you've never played this is a really good platformer on the Game Boy. Definitely recommend it. And I was just astonished at the condition of this label. I thought this was fake when I first got it in the mail. I had to actually open it because I was like, there's no way that this is like a real copy of Gargoyle's Quest, because look how clean that label is. Like, they might as well just sent me the box with it, man. That feels like this might have been complete in box and they just sent me the game. But was really stoked to have that. Next up, this was a re-add into the collection, and now I need to find part 1, but this is Iridian 2. This game plays like, what does this game play like? This game kind of plays like a N64 shoot 'em up that I can't think of the name of it right now. But this is kind of like an isometric shooter. It's kind of like a top-down shooter. It's kind of like Ray Storm, I guess, a little bit. But this is a pretty cool shooter on the Game Boy Advance. If you've never played Iridian, I usually like to have a few shoot 'em ups on all consoles that I own. And this was one that I sold. I can't remember why I got rid of Iridian, but I'm glad that I got it back. And this is a decent label, so was glad to add this one. Glad to add this one back into the collection. And last but not least, could not believe it. Now, you guys tell me, I'm on the fence about this Pokemon. Part of me thinks that this is legit. I have not had a chance to crack this Pokemon Sapphire open yet because I can't find the little screwdriver that I use for that. But this is a copy of Pokemon Sapphire that I picked up from GameStop's website. Couldn't believe they had it. Picked it up. They actually had a copy of Ruby on there, but I snoozed on that and I was too late. By the time I clicked on it, someone had already got it. But pick this one up. Now, what makes me feel like it might be real is that little 07A that you see there, the little stamp on there. And the back of the cartridge does have a healthy amount of wear and tear. So this definitely feels like some kid was playing this like all day long. Also, the internal battery on this is dead, so it does need a new battery. So a big part of me feels like this could be a legit copy of Pokemon Sapphire. Plus, I've seen fake GameStop copies of Pokemon Sapphire, and they don't look like this. This looks like a genuine copy. But you guys down in the comments can let me know if I got suckered or if this is a genuine copy of Pokemon Sapphire. So this was a interesting pickup. And honestly, this was a curiosity buy. I really just wanted to see how many times GameStop would sell me a fake Pokemon game. of this level, because Pokemon is fully stocked with like all the original Game Boy versions, like red, yellow, blue, gold, silver. But once it comes to like Crystal, Emerald, Sapphire, Ruby, those ones, that's where it becomes hit or miss. And it's not really like you kind of have to cross your fingers and hope that they send you something legit, right? All right. So now that we got all that away, hopefully you guys, if you have any of these games, let me know what you think about them in the comments below. But let's talk real quick about the people that actually want to sell, like the people that want to get out of retro game collecting and they want to sell their collection, but they've just been kind of on the fence. And is it still viable? Can you still get max dollar for your collection? And so this is how I feel about this. I feel like the smart people, like the folks who knew that they were going to need money in the next 6 months to a year, were smart and they sold their collections right in the midst or right before peak game convention season, because I think they knew that most resellers and people like that would probably want to stock up on items that they could sell at these gaming conventions. So I think about people like Gamers Manual, who's a YouTuber who had a huge collection that had to have been worth at least 150,000, maybe 200, maybe 250, at least. And that's just me extrapolating based on my collection and the value of my collection, which my collection is a fraction of his collection, and he had way more exclusive titles than I did, way more rare stuff, just way more variety than I did. At least in my opinion, I felt like he did, because he did finally do a game room tour, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's like, he's like easily in the 200s, if not 250, maybe three. And so if he got 75%, even if he got 60%, he still walked away with a large sum of cash for that collection. And I think about someone like him, and he obviously is taking that money. He commented under my comment, or I think he commented on my video, because I did a video of him about his sell-off, and he said that he in fact was using the money to purchase a home. So you have people who are selling their collections or leveraging their collections, the value of their collections, to make bigger purchases. And the beautiful part about it is that now that he's gotten his cash, he's right back to collecting again. Is he going to be able to find everything that he had at the prices that he found them for? Maybe not. But I'm sure he's out there somewhere right now getting a crazy deal, because that's just how he does. But are collectors who want to get out of their collecting, are they going to be able to do what he did in this day and age? And I think the answer is yes. I think there's still a little bit of a runway for collectors who want to offload their collection, even if that runway is your big time resellers, being Chase After the Right Price and Phoenix Resale, and Retro Rick and game stores and stuff like that. If you want to get good money for your collections, I think that there is still viability there. Do I think that your local market is going to give you that same level of viability? I can honestly say for me, where I'm at, no. I'm seeing a lot of items getting thrown up on Facebook Marketplace. I'm seeing a lot of seller competition. And I'm also seeing buyers get very picky. I'm seeing people, getting very picky about what they want to buy and have in their collection. And more than anything else, you've got GameStop competing with you. Resellers have to compete with GameStop. I mean, yeah, GameStop does sell a lot of crap, but everything that you see here is from GameStop. And these aren't like great holy grail games, but these are quality titles that collectors such as myself might want to add to their collection, especially when they're complete in box and decent shape. And so I think that at a local level, you will be challenged if you try to sell, especially if you try to do it in bulk. Like if you try to do a bulk sell off of your collection locally, you might get lucky and find someone. But if you're in a very, rural area, if you're in an area with a low population, that's going to become a challenge for you. So I don't think that you completely missed the boat. But I do think values are starting to wane. So if you do want to get top dollar for your collection and you feel like you're going to need that money within the next 6 months to a year, I would say it's probably a good idea to start offloading your collection. And you don't have to sell the whole thing off like Gamers Manual did. you could do it in chunks. You know, you could sell out, you could start with the games that you're really ready to part with that you don't really need and sell it off there. You know, I did a decent amount of selling off this summer myself, low key. I sold off probably more than half of my PlayStation 4 collection was gone out the door. I completely got out of the Nintendo Wii U system and all of the games that I had for it, so I'm completely out of that. I sold off about half of my PS3 collection. Got rid of a lot of special edition games, both for the Switch and the Vita. Yeah, it's been a good amount of selling off. But what I've held on to though, I've actually been holding on to a lot of my sixth generation stuff and older. So PlayStation 2, GameCube, PSP, Sega CD, PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, NES, all that stuff, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Wii. I still have my Wii, I still have my 360 and PS3 stuff, but honestly, that might be some of the stuff to go next. And I wouldn't be shocked if I got out of, a lot of the Switch stuff. I might only keep the really, really like, the cream of the crop Switch games that I have in my collection might be the only ones to stay, and I might wind up letting go of a lot of stuff there too. So I still think that there's viability in moving chunks of your collection. I do think values are starting to wane, and I think the longer you wait, like if you wait too long, you might have to wait for the next upswing in retro game collecting to sell your collection off. Because I do see more and more of the attention going to Pokemon cards and TCG and Labubu and Lababa and all that stuff. So there's challenges, right? There's challenges. You're competing for buyers' attention, and one of the on my last video, there was a commenter who left a comment, and it got a lot of likes. I think it got like 100 likes or so, and counting. But I was talking about the retro game market crash, and they made a very simple statement in that people are just simply broke. They just don't have the money to engage in the hobby the same way that they did before. And I want to know, this is my question for all of you who are watching this video: is that true? Are people just broke? Are you broke? Do you just not have the money anymore? Is it a matter of you being broke, or is it a matter of less interest, or is it both? Let me know down in the comments what you think the top three reasons for the decline in retro game collecting or in retro prices, because it's going to be different everywhere, right? Like some parts of the country are more financially challenged than others. Some people are more financially challenged than others. But is it just boiling down to the bottom line, to the dollar, to the brass tacks? I'm really interested to know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.